Welcome to Long Story Long. I'm your host, Lisa Curry. Today's guest is the hilarious Sara Schaefer. Sara is an incredibly talented writer and comedian. She's been the head writer of a number of shows. She has a Comedy Central half hour out. She's got an album called Live, Laugh, Love. And most recently, she released her memoir, Grand, which is excellent. You guys should absolutely read it. Check it out. I think you'll really enjoy this conversation we had. All right, get into it. Hi, Sara. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. I'm good.
Well, I miss LA so much. It's so nice to see
I know. I'm like,
the sunshine in the background.
I mean, bad time right now for someone who doesn't live in LA. I mean, I literally went swimming today.
That sounds amazing.
So
amazing.
It's 86 degrees here.
Oh,
a little bit of a hot snap. It's usually not that hot right now at this time of year, obviously. But yeah, it's like we moved. My husband and I, Scott, moved to this new place, and it's like a guest house on our friend's property. Very lucky to have found this spot, and it has a pool. And
it's so perfect.
I've never lived somewhere with a pool, and I'm not even a swimmer. But like, and there's a hot tub, and when we first got here, it was really hot, and so there was a lot of pool activity, and I really wouldn't even get in that much. But now the new year has started, and I started going on like long walks every morning, and it's been warmer, and I was like, that's why you have a pool. Is I go on a walk, I get hot, and then you go right in.
God, that sounds so perfect.
Just like are yearning for the refreshing, cooling sensation.
It's so perfect.
It's really nice.
I'm staying with my cousins right now, and it's 30 degrees here. It's drizzling, and they have a nice little gym set up in the basement. And my cousin, she's so sweet. But the other day she was like, I know you love to hike. You can use the treadmill if you want. And I'm like, oh no, I hike so I can be in nature.
Yeah.
Not because I just love moving forward so much. Yeah. Well, you don't even move forward on a treadmill, but
they make those, I did I did a treadmill one time where it had a video feature on it where you looked like you were taking a hike.
Oh yeah. I think they may have that.
You can pick different environments. And I really enjoyed the one I went on. I was like, I actually felt like I was in the hoodoos, like that Utah, like where the little stone, whatever chimneys are. I don't know what they're called. And I was like, oh, I felt like I just went on a nature walk, and I've never been to that place before. So I was legit engaged in it.
That sounds really nice.
Then got my walk in, and I was like, nice. That was weirdly very satisfying. And I was skeptical about it at first. And then by the end of it, I was like, it's definitely not the same.
Yeah.
But it was better than watching CNN. I was on the road. I was in a hotel when I tried it. And it was a nice.
Sounds like a nice little break.
Yeah. It's like going mentally somewhere else. It's like a guided meditation almost.
That sounds quite nice.
So actually. I recommend if they have that on there, I would try it. Yeah. It was good.
So besides going on walks and swimming, what are you working on right now? Are you able to get some things done or?
Yeah. So, I've been very, very fortunate during the pandemic to get writing work, kind of steady-ish. Right now I'm working on a show, which I don't think I probably can't talk about it. I don't think it's been announced, but, it's, like a docu-series starring a comedian. And,
oh, nice.
And for Discovery Plus, one of those, it's about food. It's culinary adjacent is what they're calling it. So I'm on Zoom a lot, but it's one of I was talking to the people I live with now, and I was like, my life work wise, not just during the pandemic, but prior to that, because my main writing work has been in comedy variety programming. So stuff like talk shows, docuseries, things like that, specials, like the Mark Twain Prize I wrote for that, award shows type stuff. And it's as lucky as I feel to have made a living as a writer and a comedian. I'm yearning to be in scripted TV, which is such a common,
really?
It's like join the fucking club. I really want to work in scripted. And if you don't know scripted, and I didn't know the full extent of it until I was on the negotiating committee for the Writers Guild this year to negotiate our contract with the studios.
So cool.
It was so cool. And I learned so much. And I want to talk to other Writers Guild members who are comedy variety writers and start motivating us to be like more vocal and like, you know, because we are kind of the like redheaded stepchild of the guild. Like,
absolutely.
you know, there's some other like fringe groups in the guild, like the animation writers. Like there's a lot of groups that aren't, but mainly it's scripted TV is like the bread and butter of Writers Guild work. And I learned, you know, scripted television writers make so much more money, like just entry level. Like at entry level, they're making more than I've ever made.
Yeah.
Ever. And I've been like
recently.
head writer. Yeah. Like, you know,
you've had your own television show.
Yeah. It's like really upsetting. No, I did the most money I've ever made was when I had my TV show. Cause that was like combined writing, hosting, producing. So when you combined all my fees together, it was definitely the most money.
So when so the key is to have 12 jobs.
Yeah. Right. Where it breaks you. You're frozen okay. So I've been really yearning to want to break into scripted. I've been trying for a few years. There's been a lot of like roadblocks, like the Writers Guild and the agencies went to war for over a year, which slowed things down. The pandemic, you know, lots of stuff has happened that I wrote a book that got in the way, you know, like, so this year is all about like, my favorite kind of TV is scripted television. So I want to be working on a show that not that I'm looking down on any of the work that I've done, but I don't usually seek out, maybe it's just because I'm part of it and I understand how the sausage is made too much. And so I'm like not as interested in watching the type of show that I write.
Right.
But I want to be working on a show that I love, that I'm obsessed with, that I'm so proud of. I mean, I think that's what everyone wants to work on projects. I mean, if I'm not going to work on a project that I created, that's the ultimate, but that's really, really hard to do. And the fact that I've done it once is insane. And I may never get to do it again. But if I'm going to work on something that somebody else made and came up with, I would love I would love to work on a show that I like enjoy, you know, and really want to watch and
absolutely,
binge or, you know, whatever. And then the money would be nice, but so that's what I've been working on. And, but in my downtime, I renovated my old dollhouse. Like I have many hobbies.
There's so much going on. I feel like that's a really common thing that really no one watches what they work on or the types of shows they work on. I'm like, I don't watch even like variety shows that I love. I don't ever watch it. I'm like, I want to watch Narcos. I want to watch something really dark.
Oh yeah, I don't even
with a lot of murder.
I don't even watch comedy. Scripted comedy. Yeah. And some of it is just because I love dramas, you know, like, and I want something that I can escape into fully and be gripped by it. Like, that's why I think I prefer those types of shows, but there are some comedies that I will watch. And it's usually the ones that are the tip top, like Schitt's Creek, you know. Yes. The ones that people are like, this is the best show ever made. And you watch and you're like, oh, I get why. I'm in love with these characters. It's so funny. And I will watch some shows like because a friend, you know, is in it or wrote it or whatever. But comedy sometimes is hard for me to watch because I'm analyzing it too much. It feels like work. Yeah. Or I'm jealous of the person that got it. And I'm like, how'd they get this? Like, how do I do that? You know, and then I'm not enjoying it. I'm like mad, you know? So it has to be a special kind of show for me to really like Pen 15.
I haven't seen that one yet, but I've heard it's so good.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, and you know, I just loved it so much, you know, so I will watch comedies, but I'm not going to seek that out. Usually it has to be something that people are like, you have to watch this. It's incredible. But for dramas, I'll watch anything. I mean, I will watch the bottom of the barrel dramas, network shit. That's like, who is this for? You know, like it's for your dumbest aunt, you know, like.
That's so fun. At least you're watching TV. I feel like most of the time I'm like, I'd rather just read because I just want, I want to get away from sound and everything. I just want to escape from the whole world, you know? So my cousin keeps teasing me because I'm here and her husband watch so much television. And I'm like, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. I don't know what's going on with that. I really have no clue.
Yeah, my sister is a reader and she reads more than she probably watches TV. And I fall asleep too quickly after reading for a little bit. So it's like a nighttime, you know, and I'll go through a book really slowly. Cause I can only read like 15 pages before being like, night night.
How did you end up getting into the variety space? Like what was your first writing job? TV writing job, I should say.
My first TV writing job was my own talk show.
That's incredible. I thought that, and then I thought that can't be right.
No. No. I had one job before that. I take that back. So I had jobs in TV. Okay. So here's what happened. My basic career trajectory of working in comedy, my first job in comedy, like full-time job, was hosting a show for AOL. So I was talent, but I was also writer and like producer on it. It was like a little mini web show. It was back when like they didn't know what web shows were. It was like a very new thing. It was really, really wild. Like YouTube just started to take off at the end of that job. Like how people even consumed video was so different than it is now.
God, that's so weird to think of.
It's accessible. No one even saw the shit I made. Like, because it was just this website and they were like, people will find it. It's like, no, that's not how this works. It was really Twitter wasn't even, I think I might've signed up for my Twitter account at the very end of that job. Like Facebook was just starting to blow up. Like, I mean, it was a weird time to be doing. I was like an early pioneer in this world.
So by then you're already doing stand-up, right?
Yeah, I was performing and it was like I look back, like when I got the job, I was like, finally, but it was 5.5, 6 years after starting comedy. I'm like, so wow, actually pretty early, you know? I was like looking back, but it got canceled after a year, which I'm shocked that it even lasted a year. And then I had to go like back to my day job for a little while. But then from there, I got a job blogging for Best Week Ever, which was like a really great, funny TV show at the time. And then from there, I got as a job these were really new types of jobs, like writing a blog, original content on a website that was connected to a TV show, but our blog was its own independent website. Like,
right.
I was on Best Week Ever, the show, twice. You know, I wasn't like, we had our, you know, Michelle Collins was the writer on it, and Dan Hopper and Alex Blagg. Like, it was like a group of little ragtag blogger types and creating content that stood on its own separate from the TV show. And that was very new. And it doesn't even really exist that much. Now, everything like that is just the show's Twitter account.
Yeah, I was going to say it would be like live tweeting.
Just social media. And I mean, but we were writing our own stuff that never had anything to do with the show. And then from there, because I had this like kind of very, at the time, unusual experience in that space, I had a really great resume for running the entire web operation for Jimmy Fallon when the show started. So I was like the head blogger is what they called it, but it was like I was in charge of the entire digital side of the show, and which was critical for that show because he started the show online before it even aired on TV. He did like a video every night, and I did not know that. Honestly, Jimmy was a part of Twitter becoming huge. Like he was one of the first celebrities that early on really embraced it. Yeah. And he like featured it on the show and like made it mainstream. And I was like a part of all that. And it was really exciting. And I like won 2 Emmys for that work. Digital. That's incredible. They called it like interactive media. Yeah. And so all that was adjacent to writing for TV, but I was not a writer for TV. People still think, oh, you wrote for Jimmy Fallon. I'm like, no, I wish I had. I would have way more money. I got paid very little to work
It's so
there.
funny because I feel like most people would be like, yeah, sure, I did. I was the head writer, actually, because so many people
I had
just
to
like
stop
lie.
correcting people because I was just like, to even explain what I did, I was like, people are like, what? Yeah, because that's whenever someone jokes about like, oh, some intern tweeted out something embarrassing from the whatever account. And it's like, no, people make 6 figures running Twitter accounts and social media. I didn't make 6 figures, but like people I wish. Yeah. No, people it's a real job. I was like I was 30 when I started working at Fallon. I wasn't an intern. I was like,
right.
God, I was working 16 hours a day. It was crazy. You know, I won 2 Emmys for my work there, and like,
that's incredible.
but it wasn't a writing job, but it was like important and cool and new and interesting. And I got to be a part of that show when it first started. For like the first 2.5 years of it being on the air, I was part of it. And then I got hired on my first actual TV writing job, which was to write for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which at the time, which this sort of might be the story that I was like gonna tell for the podcast, which was like, it didn't feel, I was so excited I got that job, but it was I was conflicted about it because, you know, my dream going into it was always in comedy. I want to write or have my own late night talk show. I want to write for a late night talk show, or I want to have my own. To have my own felt so far away, but to write for one was like, oh my God, if I could just get that. The fact that I was even working at a late night talk show felt like I had made it. Like I was so excited. But it was a really hard job, and it just wasn't enough money to sustain me for long term. And, you know, I felt limited there ultimately, you know, because I wanted to write for the show or a show. And I just knew that, I mean, this is nothing against the people at that show, because I understand,
of course,
that sometimes when you're really good at your job, they don't want to move you up because they want you to stay in that position. And they just don't see you as that. They don't see you as a writer. So even though I got the opportunity to submit to be a writer for that show a couple of times, I was never promoted. And ultimately, and who knows if I was right for it or whatever. I mean, I was like, how am I not right for it? I understand this show inside and out. I know Jimmy's voice. I know, and looking back, I'm like, of course I was good enough. Of course I was. But, you know, there's so much more to it. When you're being hired. So there's no hard feelings about it, but I had to leave. Like I had to break out somehow. And at that time I started working with an agent, and she made me aware that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was hiring writers. And I was like, oh, I don't want to write for that. That's a game show. It's like a daytime game show. Like that's not comedy. I don't want to that's a step down even from what I'm doing now. She goes, well, it's Writers Guild. And and she goes, it's a lot of comedy writers got their start there. And she named a few people. And I was like, oh. I was like, okay, well, I was like, and I need a change. I need to break out of here. And also it was just such a hard job. I was so fucking tired. I was like crying every night because I had to be there by like 8 a.m. in the morning. And at night,
this is at Fallon?
And I had to, there was all this like fucked up shit about the code for the website, like crazy web stuff that I like barely understood, that someone had to manually, when the show aired, like go in and change a little line of code so that the posts with all the videos and all the social media stuff would go live, like when the show was airing. And so I would like be so fucking tired. And then so the show aired at 12:30. So, so I would go to bed and then set an alarm to wake up and like type this thing in an HTML thing and then go back to sleep. And I would be crying. I would be so like, Scott was like, oh my God, you've got to get out of this job. And I was
that sounds like it was in pioneer days. I mean, to have to get up to do some kind of code.
It was the digital team there now is a completely different job. Like they really moved into what it should have been, maybe not should have been, but what it ended up needing was basically an arm of, like a little group of people who pushed out the content and helped Jimmy with his social media. It became all about social media. But when we were first there, we were making our own little content, with Jimmy and like characters that were on the show, like extra content with the guests and stuff, like all that was what we were doing. And we were pitching our own ideas, and like, it really became less about original content for the web for Fallon, and more, I could be wrong because I was gone when the real, shift happened, but it became more about like pushing out extra content that was just from the show itself, and not about, original things that we were coming up with and writing our own stuff. Like that ended up not being what the show needed. And I agree with that. But anyway, so I left and it was bittersweet to leave, but I was like, felt a little bit like I had not failed because I had gained so much from working at that show, but that I didn't get my ultimate goal, which was to be promoted to be a writer there. And I was very sad about that because I really loved working there. And I had really formed some really deep friendships there because it was like going to war together. Like starting a new talk show is so much work. And like to this day, I mean, the people I sat with in my office are my best friends, and we're a little gang still together mentally. Like we Zoomed together during the pandemic and stuff. But like, I was so loyal to the show. I loved everything about it. And it was it was at a time that I really needed something like that. I was my personal life was a fucking mess. So it was sad. It was really sad to leave the show and a difficult decision. And I was like taking what felt like a risk. Like, I was like, am I going backwards by going Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like, am I a daytime writer now? Am I not a comedy writer? Am I not a real comedian? Like all these questions were swirling around, and it felt a little bit like it wasn't the right move at first. Mm-hmm. And I was really worried about it and kind of not embarrassed by it, but just like, this isn't the kind of job you go out and have as your credit when you get introduced.
It is hard. It's so hard because so many of those, like,
to be a millionaire.
Yeah. So many of those first jobs we get feel so formative in that whether or not you want to be in that space, you do one job in a certain theme of TV. And from then on, that's just how the industry sees you. They're like, oh, well, that's the person that does that. Oh. And it's like, you could be like, no, I want to write crime dramas. And they're like, sorry, you wrote some trivia. Yeah. That's it forever.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard. I've been facing that right now. I am in my 40s and I am a senior level comedy variety writer, successful comedy variety writer. And even then I struggle, like I'm one of the lucky ones. Like I get work. It comes to me. Like I was telling the people I live with, I was like, I'm not working right now. I just came off 2 jobs when we moved here. And I said, but any day now, I know we were spending so much time together. We were like, just melding as a pod, during the pandemic and like spending, like I went from just living with my husband to now having 5, people in my life. And it was, awesome. And oh my God, I have a kid, a 5-year-old kid I get to hang out with. And we're spending all this time together. And I was like, any day now I'm going to get a job and they'll literally be like, I get a phone call. And then the next day you won't see me for 3 months because I'll be inside working. And that's what happened. Like I got a call and they're like, can you start Monday? And I am very lucky. I get jobs just come to me. They fall like then now I'm known as somebody who can do this kind of work. I'm reliable. I have a lot of contacts, producers that like me and like to work with. That's such a great place to be in. But to convince someone with all those years of experience that I could also write for scripted, it's like I'm entry level.
Yeah.
It
is like so
like
weird.
I have a taint on me. Like if you're like 42 and you've never written scripted before, it's like, but I've done all this other shit that's like, I would be fine, but anyway, so when I did Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, at first I was like, oh, I'm stuck here and, who knows what's next. But I was so excited about like, being in the union and, it felt like, okay, it's a resume builder. It's my first,
Absolutely.
Let's see what it does. And I just needed fucking time. I remember like the first week I was at Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I would leave work and it would still be light outside. And I started crying. I was like,
because you're like, I can see the sun finally.
Yeah. I was like, it's been 2 years of like always working late. And the time that I had on my hands, I was like, oh, that's so great. And it was from there that I sold. Like within 9 months of leaving Fallon, I had sold my own talk show.
Oh my God, that's incredible. First of all, really quick, what is writing on a quiz show like? Because that seems, I mean, do you just walk in the writer's room and they're like, here's a thesaurus, I don't know, just pull stuff from here?
It was so different than looking back, I'm like, I've never worked on a show like that ever since or before.
Wow.
And we wrote the questions and it was incredibly hard. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. I mean, they warned me. They're like, the first 2 weeks, you're going to be like, boom, 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 boom. And then you're going to hit a wall and you're going to you're going to panic. And that's exactly what happened. We had to write, it sounds like nothing. We had to write 10 to 12 questions a day.
Okay.
So that sounds really easy. Mm-hmm. Like, 10 trivia questions a day? What kind of moron? Like, wow. It became brutal where I would be like, I've got 2 written and it's 4 p.m. What am I going to fucking do?
You're submitting questions like, what color socks is Sarah wearing?
Right. Well, here's the thing is that before your question that you've written can count as a question you've written and part of your quota, it has to not be in the database. And if it's already in the database, it has to be an original question. Now, when I say the database, I'm talking about how long at that point had the show been on the air? 10 years?
Fuck.
And when it was daytime, it was a strip series. So it was 4 days a week. Mm-hmm. So we're talking thousands of episodes probably. The database, I think, I don't remember the number. I know it was over 100,000 questions.
Oh, easy peasy. Just don't write anything like that.
Because not all the questions had been used, and they all had to be unique because they couldn't have a question. Think about it from a legal standpoint. They could never have a question that had already been on the show.
Right.
So, you think you've come in. I used to have these little secret, and the writers never spoke. Talk about a weird writer's room. No one ever talked. It was dead quiet.
No.
And at one point I tried to be I went from the loudest fucking work environment you could possibly, I had ping pong balls flying by my head all day. It was the stereotype of backstage, where there's somebody in a fucking camel costume walking by. That's what Fallon was like. It was really what they make it seem like. Late night TV is so big and crazy and one show after another trying to top itself. So a lot of crazy stuff happened there. And this was dead silent nerds because we were with the research department. We were sequestered from production. I only went to set one time because we were not allowed to interact ever. We were in a different building. We were never allowed to interact with anyone in production to protect the wall of knowledge of so that never a contestant could never accidentally hear about a question.
Oh my goodness.
Or know answers ahead of time. And you couldn't work from home because you had to be at the office in the secure server, because $1 million is on the line. They can't have that stuff being, I wasn't allowed to talk about, now the show's off the air, but I wasn't allowed to talk about what I had written, and so anyway, we would write these questions and it was so quiet. And one day I just went can y'all just shut up? As a joke. No one laughed.
No, Sarah.
I mean, they're really nice people. Some of which,
bitch.
yeah, so really nice. Some of whom I'm still friendly with. It wasn't that anyone was not cool. It was just, it was a really different environment, and all the writers were very protective of how they came up. Everyone had sources they would use and question, ways of finding ideas for questions that you wouldn't talk about with the others, and you were allowed to write some questions that were topical. So, but they had to be such big stories that they would last for years and feel evergreen. So for instance, you wouldn't write a story about what Barack Obama did that day, because this is back when Obama was still president. You would write about that Barack Obama won the election, things that were going to last, so if something really big like that happened, so-and-so became the first person to win, first Black person to win Best Director at the Oscars, those types of things that are factoids.
Yes.
That will stand the test of time. If that had just happened, if you got in early enough, that could be one of your questions that day. 2 of the other writers were they'd been there forever and they would be done. You could tell they were done by 9 a.m. They got there early and they would be done because they were so good at it.
Shit.
And they'd just be sitting back, reading all day. And I would be like, so I had some little sources that I would use because the first thing you do is go, oh, I'm just going to Google fun facts, and that it does help. It gives you inspiration of things to write about. But what I learned is that fun facts online, none of them are true. Because that's the other thing. What your question has to be true. It has to be provable.
Oh yeah, because I bet that would be another lawsuit if if somebody got the answer right and this show was like, no.
Right. So you had to like phrase things in a way that were like protect the show from being sued. So like you had to say, of the following, which is the deepest, cave in, the world or whatever. Like you couldn't say what is the deepest cave in the world because there's a wiggle room there. You could argue
there could be like
out.
an undiscovered one that
or something like that, or like what are we talking? Are we talking distance from the surface? So you always go of the following,
yes.
4 answers, which is correct.
Yeah.
And it had to be very like the way you phrased it had to be super specific and not open-ended. And, the research team would come over to your desk and be like, so I was looking into your question. And so technically this species of corn didn't become, and because they would go deep. And so they would always recommend that if you write a question to start with as the writer, you had to have 2 sources. You had to put them in the database. Like it was a whole form you filled out.
God, that's so hard.
You had to guess how hard. It was hard. You had to guess how hard it was, which is really hard to like, when you know the answer to a question, it's hard to know how hard the question is.
Yeah.
Like, so because it's obvious to you.
Yes, of course.
And now I'm a trivia snob. Like if I play trivia in any setting, like on an airplane or at a trivia pub or, whatever, I get really fucking mad if the person didn't like make it fun.
Sure.
Because that's the thing I learned. Every question for trivia to be fun, it still can be a hard question, but it has to be referencing something that we all know. You can't be so obscure and specific, especially on like a show like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's play along. You're at home watching and you want to feel like you could win. And so it's not just, okay, what's the formula for some crazy calculus, equation?
Sure.
Like no one cares about that, but you say, more accessible topics. So one thing they were like honed in on with me, they were like, oh, you're good at the art questions, right? We need more questions about art, Sarah. You write art questions. Like, okay. And they also had me writing the easy ones, which were really hard to come up with.
Oof.
Like, I can't even explain to you how hard. Oh, and they want each question to have 2 points of knowledge. So like, there's so much to tell you. So the example I gave is like, because it makes it fun.
Yes,
and
of course.
It's also, now I'm really good at trivia because I understand how trivia questions work.
Does that make you want to go on a game show?
No. And I also like can't. Like I think I have to fill out a form and like they would be like, no, you can't ever.
That's really funny.
So like 2 points of knowledge. So the example given to me was to think of it like this. Instead of saying what 2 colors make purple, the question could be, what children's character do you get when you combine red and blue?
Okay, got it. So you would get Barney.
Yeah.
I mean.
So you have to know. Yeah, you're right. So you have to know that red and blue.
I won.
You did it. You have to know 2 things to get the question right. You have to know that red and blue make purple. And you have to know that Barney is purple. So
got
those
it.
are 2 things.
That's
that's what makes that's what makes a good trivia question.
All right.
That's what makes it fun.
Now I'm going to become a tyrant.
Yeah. And also what I've learned with trivia is if you're playing trivia, know that a good trivia game, like Trivial Pursuit or one of these big network type style games, a good one will be one that the writers understand that like a group of people are playing of different knowledge bases and that your gut instinct is usually right. And there's usually a hint in the question.
Oh, okay.
So like, say the question, I remember at Christmas last year, we played trivia with my family and like, I was like so proud. I was like, I used everything I've learned and I got that question right. And it was something like what superhero or something like, and I know nothing about superheroes, like fucking, I hate superhero movies. And my eyes glaze over. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I couldn't tell you who's in Marvel,
Yeah.
Like, I just stopped listening. It's just like the little drawbridge to my mind is like, and the question was like, what superhero or supervillain, like eats whole planets, like feeds on planets. And I don't know if it was multiple choice or whatever, but I was like, Galactica or something like that. And it was right. I like guessed something. Like, it was just because I don't remember the exact question. I'm sounding like I knew something, but it was something where I did all that. I listened to the clues in the question, and then I was able to.
Because it's almost like a riddle in a way.
Yeah, it's like, I figured it out. And also I've learned just from experience that like your gut instinct, your first thought is usually right. Mm-hmm. You convince yourself it's not right. And then you go, no. And then you go, fuck, I should have just said it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's true of everything, by the way.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just like a good life lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you say then leaving Fallon felt like something that it felt bad to you at the time that like sent you on a good trajectory? I mean, getting into the WGA is such a huge accomplishment.
It was
in itself.
Just that alone. But then it freed me up to have the mental capacity, because that a show like Fallon, a late night talk show, or even any kind of daily show like that is, especially a new one that's still being figured out. It's so much work.
Yeah.
No matter what your job is on the show, it's so much work, and it's day in and day out. And we would get hiatuses and stuff, which I loved that schedule.
Yeah.
It'd be like, all right, but by the end of that, the longest we would go without a hiatus would be 6 weeks, which doesn't sound that long, but 6 weeks of a daily show like that is,
that's a lot.
You're dead at the end. And we'd be like, 6 fucking weeks this time, 4 weeks. And I still had to work over hiatuses because the web stuff was still going.
Because you're writing code. Because you're inventing the internet.
I'm coding. Yeah. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. They just told me I had to enter a dash so that it would go live. Like, I don't know. I'm sure it's way better now, but this was like early, kind of on the cusp of like, I remember in my first meeting with NBC, it was a phone call. Somebody at NBC was like, Twitter is dangerous.
Really?
And turned out they were right. But they were like, it's, because there was this they called it the castle walls concept in early internet strategies for companies, was we want everyone to come to our website because we want the traffic.
Oh, yes, of course, for the ads.
And we don't want people leaving. And that's still a thing. Like Facebook they do all kinds of evil shit, and so does Twitter, to keep you there.
Yes.
And they will suppress content that someone at Facebook told me this. They were like, if you want your stuff to get seen on Facebook more, never link to something. Always embed it. Always upload the photo. It needs to be what they call native. But back at this point, companies weren't embracing social media. They media companies did not want you going to, they viewed YouTube as competition. They viewed Twitter as competition instead of a portal to get a shit ton of eyes on what they were selling.
Of course.
So, but that changed so quickly from the moment I got there to like the first 6 months. I mean, it was what Jimmy was getting like press for. Yeah. He was getting praised for embracing social media and being tapped into that, that culture. And, it really helped rocket that show, and I was just a tiny part of it, but it was very exciting.
When you, I was just going to jump ahead to you getting your own show, because I didn't know that it was such a quick turnaround. The 9 months at Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
To sell the pilot, it took 2 years after leaving Fallon for the show to be airing,
So were you were just like working on this on your off time the whole time you were at Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I assume?
Yeah. So while I was at Fallon is when I started my podcast with Nikki. Mm-hmm. And we built, an audience then, and in that 6 to 9 months after I left Fallon, I had more time to like imagine, and to create more to kind of take what Nikki and I were doing and go to the next level with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like feeling like, I've got to, because whenever I feel like I don't know where I'm going in my career, I create something new on my own.
That's so cool.
And sometimes it pans out and sometimes it doesn't, but it's always worthwhile to do that. And, you know, so I was like, I need to make something. I need to make something that gets me the next thing that I really want to be a part of. And around that time, Nikki also had a really big rejection. She thought she was going to get some big gig and then it fell through. And she was at my house when she found out that she didn't get it. And it was like, she was really upset, and we recorded our podcast. And then we talked to, you know, we're like, we can fucking do this. Like, we left that night, like, inspired, like, we're going to, and I said to her, I was like, why aren't we just selling our own show?
Yeah.
We have this, we have something we've built and it's good and we're good together. We need to capitalize on it. And we were like, let's fucking do it. She was like, yeah, let's fucking do it. We were just like all fired up and like, we're going to fucking take it by storm. And we didn't know exactly what we were going to do at first, but we decided we should make a video, like a funny video that puts us out there as like two people on camera.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if we did a PSA about Justin Timberlake making music again, begging him to make music again? And she was like, yes. And we started coming up with ideas. Her ideas were so like, it may have been both of us. I don't know how. I feel like it might have been my idea, whatever. Regardless, it was our idea together. And like, I laid out the like beats, and she punched it up and like made it, because she's such a good joke writer. So like, she made it 100 times funnier. And then I would do a pass, and then she would do a pass. And I was like, Nikki, this is a video that I can tell, because I've been working in digital media.
Yes.
Whole time. I was like, this is going to go viral. I feel it. I know it's like tapping into something. And so we shot the video. It turned out really funny. And then we held it because we had a pitch coming up to pitch our own talk show. And I said, I think it's going to go viral. So what we should do is we should hold the video, even though when you make something like that, you want to put it out right away, just in case someone else comes up with the idea. We're like, it was like 3 weeks or 4 weeks away for our pitch. And I said, what if we held the video and we put it out like 3 days before our pitch? Because I'm telling you, it's going to go viral. And then we can point to it and go, it's happening right now. Look at what we've done.
Right. Yes.
It actually happened that way.
Which is like the most insane thing. You can't plan something going viral.
I'm so glad we're doing this podcast, because the last few months, I've been in a funk, you know, because the world is ending, but because where I've been telling the bad voice in my head has been going, every decision you've made is wrong. All your gut instincts are wrong. Are you fucking loser? Like, what? That's just a bad liar voice in my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, but I was right in these instincts. These instincts were right at some points, and the other times they've been way wrong, and I've learned from those mistakes. But in this case, it was being right about something and being right about it at the right time.
Yeah. Was this your pitch to MTV?
We pitched to E! And MTV. And we pitched to MTV in LA. We like came out to LA, and we had these pitches set up, and like we had done a practice pitch with our agents and stuff. And, you know, we had stuff to point to. We had gotten press for our podcast. We had this video that, you know, it did go viral. Justin Timberlake tweeted it. And I was like, we fucking did it, you know? And we showed the video in the pitch, and we're like, this is the kind of thing we would do on the show. And it just made sense. Everything that we had put into it, we built, and it was our chemistry that ultimately is what sold it. And that we had proof of concept. We had a podcast where we'd had, you know, so many hours of learning how to be together on camera, how to interview people together, how to host. And then also, you know, I mean, and Nikki had her own rising star. I had my own, like we both had gotten press and attention for different things in different ways, which made us like a good combo. Yeah. Like different strengths coming into it. And then we would pitch this thing in MTV and E! And like, they both felt like they went really well. And then when I came back to New York, I was like, I'm not going to just sit here and wait. Like, I'm going to fucking try to play this somehow. So I knew someone who worked at MTV in the development side in New York.
Okay.
And I contacted him and I said, hey, Nikki and I just pitched this thing. Can we meet up? Like, can you help me strategize? Like, is there anything I can do to like bolster our pitch to get, anybody else on board at MTV? He goes, let's meet up for a drink. It's Jake Plunkett and Sachi Azura's husband. Sachi and him are both like old friends, and now, now they're very good friends, but Sachi's like an amazing producer, and they're both amazing producers.
Yeah. I know of her. I don't.
Yeah. Sachi has done stand-up and writing and everything too. She's kind of like she does it all. Jake is more director. And Jake was like, we met up and I kind of did a soft pitch to him. I like pitched him the show and I was like, it was like one of those, let me just pick your brain about this.
Yes.
I hate that phrase.
Of course.
We met up and we're in a restaurant and I like soft pitched it to him and he was like, Sara, this is exactly what we're looking for right now. He's like, okay, I need to make sure that we're following up and the conversation that you had in LA gets into the ears of the higher ups in my office. And so more was happening now. And then it gets into the ear of this amazing producer, Brooke Posh. And Brooke is now runs Jax, which is or part of Jax. She's an incredible producer and I love her. And it turns out that like we had a lot of mutual friends and that helped. And she knows a lot of people from Fallon. And so all these things start circling together.
Right.
And Nikki too, like all the groundwork she's laid and all the little groundwork we've laid starts swirling together to create this perfect moment for the big thing to happen. And Brooke, I remember Jake told me that Brooke said to Jake, Jimmy's my friend. I can't steal Sara from him. And he goes, well, good news. She left the show 6 months ago or whatever, 9 months ago. She doesn't work there anymore. So there's no conflict. And Brooke was like, great, let's do it. So like, I wouldn't have gotten the show.
Yeah, that's so crazy. You wouldn't have had your own show, which
the biggest thing that's ever happened in my life, all these little things, wouldn't have happened. And like, it just is cosmic, it feels like, but also like, it's not just luck. It's that every little brick you laid meant something and mattered. And when it was time to call up that favor or the good relationship you had or one little good impression you made on somebody worked. And that is also happened to be something that MTV was looking for at the time. They wanted something comedy that appealed to young women. And Nikki and I were like the Tina and Amy, we did kind of look like Tina and Amy, me with the glasses and Nikki blonde and then we did 2 pilots. Like we had to do, I forgot, I like erased certain parts of this from my memory. Like we had to reshoot the pilot, like the studio part, because there were so many notes and stuff. And they were like, let's just redo it. And I mean, it took forever. It was so brutal waiting, and I turned down a second season of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because I wanted to go on the road. And I was just like, I'm putting it all in, baby. I was like, I'm just diving off the cliff. Like, please God, like let it happen. And it did. And it was just, we got 2 seasons and it was incredible. And, everything since has been so unexpected. And like, I never imagined, at the time when we had the show and it ended, I was like, it's nothing but up from here, baby. And it definitely wasn't. It was for Nikki, but not for me. And we did not stay aligned in that way. But that's something that I've actually like had to work through. And I feel like, you've read my book, which, you were critical in the final stages of my book by doing a read of it and offering me ideas for little punch ups and stuff. There's still a couple lines I think about all the time that you wrote.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Yeah. Which, by the way, this is like the first time I'm like saying this.
Yes. I had no idea.
Every book you read has other people helping. You know, I didn't have a ghostwriter. I wrote almost every single word in that book, but I had people help me, you know, towards the final phases, like with feedback, with ideas, like little punch ups here and there. And you were the one person who really provided some very usable stuff.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Because I wondered, you know, because I haven't read it again, and I don't think I would remember.
You don't need to. Yeah. No,
and
I mean, there was something in my stand-up I remember, like, and this is another thing, you know, this stand-up, as people get more developed in their stand-up careers, they hire people to help. Like your biggest stand-ups out there, some of them don't write one joke anymore. They're at a level where they hire a guy.
I always watch, whenever I watch a stand-up special now, I watch for the special thanks at the end. Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, that's what, because there's, I mean, I'll tell you privately, but there's people that I've watched and I'm like, that doesn't seem like your voice. And then you get to the end and you're like, that's right. It's not your voice.
Yeah. I mean, and I've never had someone just straight from whole cloth write jokes for me. Like,
of course, but they can tweak something here and there.
When I went to, yeah. And that's almost sometimes that's just conversationally what comedians do for each other. But I have hired, when I went to Edinburgh and I had my hour-long show, I was taking it so seriously, and I hired a couple people to just do punch up on like a couple little parts. So I was like, this just needs, and I remember telling someone who I had hired, like, hey, my album just came out, and just so you know, like, I think this was your line, you know, and she was like, I don't even remember. Like, you know, like you know, like, it's not so precious when you're writing it for someone else. But yeah, so I don't know where that was all coming from, but anyway, here I am.
And the book is so good, by the way. it was such a joy to read. I mean, I read quite a bit, and I've read a lot. I know, I love hearing that terrible.
Like, I just read so much. I'm like, good.
I genuinely really, really love it, and bought multiple copies and made my mom buy multiple copies. So, you know, if you saw a bump in sales.
I mean, look, it's a slow burn. It definitely, my book wasn't the like bestseller that I had daydreamed it would be, but everyone that's read it has responded so positively and enthusiastically that I'm like, because what I was saying is there's part of the book where I talk about my feelings about everything that happened after the TV show and where I am now. And that was stuff I never really had fully faced. Yeah. I definitely had never talked about publicly because I was embarrassed. And so that stuff, I mean, I share a lot in that book, as you know, that's very personal that I've never talked about. I made sure that the book really covered territory that I had never shared before on podcasts. I wanted it to be a fresh story, but that meant I had to go deeper than I've ever gone before and expose things that I've never talked about. And so it was just a lot of scary stuff I was putting in that book. And I never realized that the stuff about the career stuff at the end was actually going to be one of the scariest things to write about.
Really? I'm so surprised. Yeah. I think from reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff about her family. And it's probably because just a reflection on, I'm not very close with my family. And I talk about them here and there in my stand-up, but I can't imagine writing about them because I'm like, well, they can read that. They can't operate the internet hardly, but
there's some people who are very like, I just will talk about my family. Fuck them, you know? Yeah. And there's people who say, like, if you read books about how to write memoir, what makes a good memoir, there's people who really like push the idea that you need to have no empathy for your family and you need to expose everyone and go for the jugular. And I was like, well, that's not me. And if that's how it has to be, I'm not writing this fucking book. Yeah. I mean, I told that editor at one point, I was like, I am not sacrificing the relationship with my family for this book. So we got to find a way to do this. Like, you know, it's like, and I think it's just how do you tell the story, the truest form of the story, your story without her, you know, because I could have written a different book and it ruined my relationship with my family, you know, like it's all how you write it and how you paint, you know, you as the writer determine how you portray someone. And if you portray, a lot of people said this is such a love letter to your family. And I'm like, well, I've done my job. Then if you feel love for my family after this and you feel how much I love my family, that is true. Yeah. That's honest.
Can you imagine if you had sold them out and it like didn't do very well at all?
Right. I mean,
it just was a flop.
They allowed me to go there. They gave me their blessing. I didn't need their permission, but they gave me their blessing. And that was what made it, I think. So they trusted me, and it was like being trusted, and that allowed me to tell the story that I really needed to tell, like like from my core. And since then, and I haven't fully processed it, but I feel like I've entered a new chapter of my life. Yeah. Personally and creatively, like, now I can, what am I going to say?
It's such a huge accomplishment. It's enormous.
I mean,
some people write books and it's not.
Yeah. I mean, some people put out a book and it makes millions and they didn't write one word of it. They hired someone to write it. Like there's so many ways to do it. But now I'm just like, I'm not afraid to, I've been thinking a lot about like, what is it I want to say and do next creatively? And it's hard to not get caught up in the way I used to think, like the Justin Timberlake video, like marketing and strategizing and how can I win with it and make money. And it's hard as an artist to constantly be balancing those two things of like needing to survive and also wanting, the glory of it all, the money and the fame. Although I don't really want fame. I just want like, I don't know.
Influence?
Or just power.
Yes.
Power to go, okay, now you trust me creatively to give me a show or to give me the power to make creative choices and not constantly being beholden to some bullshit, and that's very few artists have achieved that freedom. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's
sometimes
really tough.
You scratch the surface and they got there, were evil.
Yeah, all I want is power, and it's because I think that I would do good things with it.
Exactly. That's what I'm like, I want to hire all these people that I know are talented and funny, and like, I can't talk too much out of school, but I just can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation where someone comes to me for a recommendation. They'll go, I'm looking for a junior level writer who's preferably a woman of color. They want to hit all the boxes. And then I find out who they hired, and it's like a senior level white man. Yeah. Well, then what was the point?
You're like, what do you?
Give them a chance.
Exactly.
You can't consider all of them. Whatever. I mean, there's so many things that go into hiring people, so I don't want to. I've made mistakes in that area too. So but I'm just saying, like what you were saying, like to have the power to go, I'm going to put together a team and I'm going to give somebody a chance, just like somebody gave me a chance. And then I'm going to, make something that makes people feel good and inspired. And
it also feels good to give people jobs and money, not to be like the one hoarding it, but to be like, here you go. I credit you and Nikki for me getting Jim Jefferies Show, because you recommended me, and then she also sent a letter of recommendation, and I'm like, if I hadn't gotten the information from you, I wouldn't have gotten it. It wasn't like floating around,
Yeah, that's those things, and you said thank you, by the way, which I don't do things for thanks, but I do notice if someone doesn't thank me.
I noticed. There's a girl.
Like, are you gonna?
There's someone I barely know that I recommended for a job because I knew it was her dream job, and I thought she'd be a good fit for it. And she didn't say a word, and I'm like, cool, noted.
It's like, okay,
great. I'm like, I'm putting my name on the line for you, but okay, sure.
Right. It's like that's your freebie. After that, I don't know how many more times I'm going to want to help you if you're not even, acknowledging.
If you don't care. Yeah.
But also, there's certain things that depends on who it is. I mean, like if it's, if certain people, I'm like, I don't need thanks. I just did that because like I want to help a person, and I don't care if they even know that I helped them. Right. There's those kinds of things. And then there's things where I'm like, I did a favor for you. Now at least acknowledge it. Okay.
Yeah, please.
But what I was going to say was, and I know we should probably, I'm guessing you want to wrap this up, but you're like, I'm going to have to edit down this so far. But I think the moral of the story is like, I don't even know if there is a moral, but I think it's, I don't know. I think it's just believe in yourself. No.
Yeah. Here's a question for you that I like to end on. What if like 8-year-old Sara could see you now, what would she think of you?
Oh, like you fucking did it, man. Like, look, you know, and you have a pool and an Emmy award.
Yeah.
You know, like I would be like, why aren't you a millionaire? Because those things don't seem to add up. Like when you're 8, you think people who've been on TV are millionaires, you know?
Yes.
I think, you know, and like the things I've done, I like that I am the things that I was really into when I was 8 years old, I cultivate now still, you know.
Yeah. The dollhouse, which was amazing.
Yeah. Like, and, you know, all those things that I loved growing up, I'm cultivating them in my life now. And it's like, you know, I was remembering recently, I went to like a nerd summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like you went to a college and lived on campus and pretended to be a college student. Like I didn't go to camps where you learned how to like tie knots and go, you know, swimming and shit like that and fires. I went to like where you take an architecture class.
Yeah,
you know?
I did the same shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was called Build Your Own Dream House. And that was one of the classes I took. And it was where you know, we did like basic learning about the basics of architecture and stuff. And I remember in my plan for my dream house, I had a room for just dollhouses. I had a dollhouse room.
That's so sweet and spooky.
Yeah, I know. And like I'm like, I want to buy a house. It like motivates me. I'm like, I want to sell a show or do something big with my career so that I get that big chunk of money. I can buy a house and have my dollhouse room. It's still alive.
Precious. So precious. You know? Well, thank you so much for coming on,
Thank
Sara.
you.
It was so good to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
I love you and I miss you.
I love you and miss you.
Thanks so much for listening. Once again, that was Sara Schaefer. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram at Sara Schaefer1. That's SARASCHAEFER, 1. And I'm Lisa Curry. You can find me on Twitter at Lisa_Curry and on Instagram at olympianlisacurry. If you're enjoying the show, please like, subscribe, give it 5 stars, tell your friends, you know, all that jazz. And we will see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye.